Hello everyone, my name is Nuradil Kumarov and this is my final project for Physics 220 class. Today in this video we are going to explore the force that opposes any movement. First of all, guys, what do you think what will happen if an object will move on two different surfaces? One with a rough surface like a ground with small stones, and the second one with a slippery surface, for example ice. The initial velocity is the same in both scenarios, and obviously there will be some difference in movement, but what is causing it? Today we're gonna explore that. Those all results from the previous slide are due to a contact force called friction. We might have not noticed friction, but it is everywhere. Any movement might have friction. For example, in sports, where a lot of movement is involved, we can always see the effects of friction. In skiing, an athlete is always confronted by friction. In racing, the racers and the team always pay attention to the tires, because if the tires are too flat, the driver might lose control over a car. Or braking, friction between the brake pads and the wheels of a vehicle slows it down. An example from daily life can be found everywhere. When you try to hold something, the friction helps you hold it, and it prevents it from falling from your hand. Or when you try to move something heavy but cannot, frictional force is too high, and thus it is difficult to move this object. In physics, friction is one of the most basic forces in motion. The friction can be described as a force that opposes any movement. Friction can be found by the coefficient of friction multiplied by normal force. There are two types of the coefficient of friction, static and non-static. Since more force is needed to start a movement at the beginning, but after an object starts moving, the friction becomes less. The force of static friction is a force between two surfaces that prevents those surfaces from sliding or slipping across each other. For example, when you park your car on the roads of San Francisco, which are full of hills, it will not be possible without static frictional force. The normal force has a significant role in the amount of the frictional force. The normal force isn't necessarily equal to the force due to gravity. It's a force perpendicular to the surface of an object is sliding on. In other words, the normal force is a force pushing the two surfaces together, and the stronger the normal force, the stronger is the force due to friction. What happens if the surface will be frictionless or rough? In order to see the effect of friction visually, we will conduct an experiment. In order to manage the experiment, I am planning to create two inclines with the same angle and distance, but with different surfaces. One of the surfaces will be almost frictionless and the other one will be rough, so that the frictional force will be easily observed. At the beginning, the object will be at the top of the incline, and after it will be released, the object is supposed to slide down. There will be two experiments. In the first one, I will release the object on a more frictional surface. In the second one, there will be a frictional surface. In order to be precise, the amount of time needed for the object to get to the bottom of the incline will be observed so that we can see the difference between two surfaces. Let's go. So the first experiment, when the surface has more friction, we'll slide down the car, and it took us 2.5 seconds for our car to come to the rest. Let's see the difference, what will happen if there is less friction. And when there is less friction, it only took 1 second for the car to come to the rest. So why are the results different? What do you guys think? It's all because of the frictional force. Why is it happening? The difference in the time it takes for the car to come to rest on surfaces with different levels of friction is due to the frictional force acting upon the car. Friction is a force that opposes the motion of objects in contact with each other. When there is more friction between the surface and the car, it takes longer for the car to come to stop, because the frictional force acting against its motion is greater. Conversely, when there is less friction, the frictional force opposing the motion is weaker, resulting in the car coming to rest more quickly. In this presentation, we observed how friction affects any movement and how friction is involved in our daily life. For example, walking. When you guys walking, friction between the ground and the sole of your shoes prevents you from slipping. And different types of surfaces create different amount of friction. For example, slippery surfaces have less friction, which increases the chance of slipping, while rough surfaces have more friction, which decreases the chance of slipping. This all knowledge that you gained from this video is enough for you to start understanding some contact forces in physics like friction. I hope this video was useful for you guys. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it. Thank you.